Hi there, it's Mariella. We have a few new members in our growing community, and I wanted to reintroduce myself to you. Instead of a regular introduction, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to answer 7 questions that I get asked all the time, especially when people meet me for the first time. If you're new to this community, I hope that you'll get to know me a little bit better today. And if you've been with us for a while already, maybe there's something in here that you didn't know about me yet. I've been asked these questions at parties. There's one that I was asked during an interview on another podcast. And at the end, I've included one that a close friend of mine asked me recently. Welcome to Productive Introvert Community Podcast. I'm Mariella, and I support introverted solopreneurs in developing healthy habits so that they have the energy to work on their goals without daily routines that feel forced or that only last 2 weeks. I'm going to jump right in with the first question. One of the things that I get asked the most, I got asked this just 2 weeks ago. Where are you from? I am from South America, and I was born and raised in Suriname, a country north of Brazil. A lot of people think that I'm Indonesian or from the Philippines, but I'm actually half Chinese and half African with a little bit of Caucasian, at least as far as I know. Question number 2. When did you move to Europe? I moved to Europe when I was 18 and I came to live in Amsterdam to study. I did my bachelor's, my master's, and my PhD in different places in the Netherlands. I'd never really traveled abroad before coming to Europe, and a few weeks after finishing high school in Suriname, I got on a plane with my mom and here I am. Question number 3. When did you find out that you were introverted? I guess I always kind of knew that I was a little bit different than a lot of the other kids. For example, I didn't mind being by myself. In fact, I preferred it sometimes. But at the same time, I really like people. I like being around people. I remember going to parties and then just sitting next to my mom and just staying there for hours, listening to the adults talking to each other while the other kids were off playing somewhere together. So in that respect, I always knew that I preferred things that were slightly more solitary and quiet. I was called shy a lot growing up, and when I first came to the Netherlands, people would tell me that I needed to be more assertive. So I just thought that I was a little bit awkward, and I struggled with really liking people and wanting to be around people, but not knowing how to really connect with them. I didn't know that I was introverted and what that really meant until I was in my mid-20s. Sitting next to someone and just staring at people, that stopped working after the age of 12. I quickly realized that made people uncomfortable. But the effect was that I started to behave a bit more extroverted, being really chatty and making jokes badly. It worked for a while, but it became really tiring. And it wasn't until I started following another coach who worked specifically with introverts, and she busted a lot of the myths around introversion for me. And I started to become more comfortable with my introverted me. Another question that I get asked a lot, question number 4, is, do you regret leaving science after 10 years? If you've been in this community for a little while, you've probably heard me mention this before. And this one is especially, I get asked by people who have known me in the past when I was still a researcher. I trained in university for about 10 years to be a researcher, and I have a PhD in molecular biology. But right after I finished my PhD, I decided to leave science, and I changed careers a few times, and then I found coaching, which feels like coming home to me. Do I regret it? The short answer is no. I don't regret it. I have another episode where I talk a little bit more about what that time has brought me still today, and some of the mentors who I've been fortunate to have met along the way. And I'll leave a link in the description in case you want to hear more about that. So I don't regret leaving science. It was really the best choice for me. And I am super happy that I took the plunge to become an entrepreneur. Looking back now, there were a couple of years that it was really tough. And it is difficult to make a big change, especially when you feel like you might be disappointing a lot of people, or when you may not really know what direction to go in. But deep down, if you feel that something is or is not the right thing for you, I believe that it's really important to take those signals seriously. And that was something that I needed to learn as well. I like to share about this because I want to show an example that even when you're not entirely sure which direction to go in, you will find your way one step at a time. Question number 5. What has helped you to find yourself as an introvert? The biggest difference for me has been learning about the myths and the truth about being an introvert. There are a lot of myths about introverts. Things like introverts are shy, they're slow and indecisive, they don't like being around people, or they can't handle pressure, which was actually all of these were big ones for me. And I used to believe them. I really thought that those were limitations that I had because I was an introvert, and that I just needed to have different types of jobs because I was slow and indecisive and couldn't handle pressure. I now know that those things are not true. And it's usually because we have adopted ways of working that don't really match our natural flow as introverts. So busting those myths and understanding what's different for you as an introvert, that really helped me so much to be more comfortable in myself and more confident in my own capabilities. And I see the same thing happen to my coaching clients when they learn more about their natural process. I'm going to share some of these myths with you in another episode. Let's bust them together. Question number 6 is a little bit different, but I do get this one quite regularly. Where do you find clients? So naturally, this question comes up because I mainly work with introverted solopreneurs. Many of them have an online business and are either creating a new offer or changing their business model. And with that, often comes a new or different client. So where do I find my clients? My clients find me online. For example, after seeing a YouTube video like this one, some of them I've met in person at events. Sometimes that's been years ago. And then they come across my online content again and decide to give coaching a try. And I also get clients through referrals from other clients. When I first started, the idea of being visible for my business was really, really scary. I'm the type of person who likes to be in the background. You know, I'll organize a party, I'll do everything, but don't ask me to be the host. That's the type of person that I am, generally speaking. So initially I felt really overwhelmed by visibility, by marketing, by content creation, like all of it. The thing that made a huge difference for me is gaining insight into my natural advantage. It's helped me to understand much better what I actually need in order to create things with a sense of ease and to connect with people in a natural way. It's helped me to be less focused on the result and enjoy the process a lot more. And ultimately, enjoying the process, it's the most effective way to keep going over time. Both in science and in entrepreneurship, most of what you try doesn't work. You can assume that 90% of what you're gonna do initially will fail. And it's normal because you've never done it before. So it's very normal that you'll fail in the beginning, but it doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is that from every fail, you'll learn something. And by sticking with it long enough and taking on board the things that you learn, you eventually get good at something. This leads us to the last question. Question number 7. Do you think you found purpose? This is a really interesting question that a close friend asked me not too long ago. I remember that I used to feel like a wanderer, and I'm making air quotes here in case you're listening to this on audio. What I meant by that is I felt like someone who was just wandering around with no clear aim or purpose, no real direction. And even though I was fairly good at the jobs that I had, I felt a bit lost and like I wasn't really contributing anything with the work that I was doing. At the same time, the weird thing was, it was like I was expecting to find my purpose lying under the couch somewhere, like under here. And I would just be cleaning up one day and then go under this couch and be like, oh, that's where you've been. I've been looking for you. And I feel like that is the pitfall that a lot of us fall into when we talk about purpose. We're expecting it to just be somewhere waiting for us, and we just bump into it on the street. We often think it's a certain job, and if you can only find that perfect job, then it's gonna all click. I feel that purpose isn't something that's out there waiting for you to find it, really. It has more to do with seeing a gap in the world and feeling really strongly that it needs to be filled. Finding purpose is about understanding what role you play in filling that gap. And the way that you really identify it is by trying different things and by learning more about yourself, what you're good at, what you enjoy. Do I think I live a more purposeful life? Yes, 100%. I'm more intentional with how I live my life now, and I find much more fulfillment in the work that I do. I don't feel like a wanderer anymore. I found a direction. But do I believe that coaching is my purpose? No. I find my purpose in the role that I can play right now to help introverts to be more confident and happy people. Right now, that role is coaching. And although I have no intention of changing that anytime soon, it could potentially change. There are many roles needed to fill any one gap, and one role can fill many different gaps. It's up to you to decide what your role is going to be, and it's in the process of fulfilling that role that you find purpose. Hopefully this was interesting to you, and you got to know me a little bit better through these random questions. Are there any questions that I didn't answer today or that you'd like to ask me? I'm open to talk about anything, and you can ask me anything. So leave your question in the comments if you'd like me to do a part 2 where I answer your question. Thank you for hanging out with me today and for giving me your most valuable asset, your attention. So see you next week. I'm going to share some of these myths. I'm going to share some of these myths. Myths. This is not going anywhere fast. I'm going to share some of these myths with you. Thank you for listening to the Productive Introvert Community Podcast. If you're an introverted entrepreneur and you're ready to thrive in your own way, then connect with me on thefrankermessage.com/contact.